All right, good evening and welcome to Scotty Talks About. And tonight we're going to be talking about Stacie Tatera. Hi, honey, how are
Hi,
you?
how are you? I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Now, how many years already since we've known each other? Quite a, what, 4 years, 5 years already?
I think it's probably been about 5 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's been kind of weird. So, Stacie and I, the first time we met, we were doing a show together. We were
Yep.
doing a gallery event, and it was a really fun event. So, been one of my dear friends ever since. So, very happy to have you on tonight. I'm very happy to have you as a friend and very excited. So, hi, everybody that's in the room. Hi, Carly. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Danny. And hi, Robin so far. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming in this week. And everybody else that's not saying hi, go Gail's here too. So, Stacie, this is cool. This is just you and I talking tonight and having a good time. So, if we go down rabbit holes, we'll stay down.
I think I lived in rabbit holes lately. It's like the whole world is a rabbit hole lately. Oh
we
my
need to
God.
get we need to get into one or get back out and go into the right one because it seems
Right,
really weird now.
right, absolutely.
That's kind of really weird happening. So why don't we start out with um, everybody knowing who Stacie is, and then we'll go from there and we'll keep jabbering.
Okay. So I'm a psychic medium and I'm also a Reiki master teacher, angel card reader, medicinal aromatherapist. I'm a spiritual teacher and counselor. I currently have a wellness center in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. So I'm just in the Milwaukee area, just south of the airport. I do this work full time. I was in the corporate hustle for about 20 years in sales, and about almost 5 years ago, I really got pushed off. I got pushed out of the corporate situation and pursued this on more of a full-time basis. And it's been wonderful. It's been quite a roller coaster, as I know, you know how that goes. But
Yep.
I'm honored to do this work, and I have just truly amazing clients in the area as well as all over the country. This is what the joy of video allows us to do, especially lately, a lot more video and Zoom types of readings. But I like to teach, and I'm doing a lot more teaching. And so that's what I do. That's
That's
kind of
cool.
my gig. So
And you know, I was pushed out of the nest too, right? Out of the
yeah,
corporate nest. So
yeah. I was pushed out of the spiritual closet about 11 or 12 years ago. And then the ball just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And here we are today. And this is what we do. So clearly
yeah,
had plans for both of us.
yeah, that's kind of funny because everybody said so. Why are you no more in Ohio and the other states than you are in Wisconsin? I said because the corporate job I had said don't talk about it.
Right.
So I couldn't do stuff here in the state. So now I'm out. But I mean, this is a fun part because just yesterday I had a reading for a gentleman from Mumbai.
Oh, wow.
I know it was really fun, and he goes, you can hit me that good all the way across the seas. I said, well, it doesn't matter where we are. It matters how we're connected. So that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Energy is energy. And it's funny because people will ask me, I don't know if you've ever got that question where people will ask me specifically, if you do a reading over the phone or over a video situation with mediumship or psychic intuitive, does it work as well as when I'm sitting in front of you as a client? And for me, it does. But I really like being on video. I think it allows a more personal interaction when I'm doing readings. But for a lot of years, we still did just the phone, and that
Right.
worked fine. But that's a question I get pretty regularly: is does it work the same? So it does for me, and obviously it does for you too. But it's nice to be able, like I said, energy is energy. You tune in and tap in, and away you go.
Yeah, the cool thing that happened this year for me was actually my classes because of the COVID. My classes actually became stronger because I was able to do it on video. And then instead of trying to do classes with multiple people at one time in a class, because I always felt bad because certain people were ahead, certain people are behind. We're never all in the same place. But now that I do it one-on-one on Zoom with the people, it becomes a lot easier because I'm just dealing with you. I'm
Right.
just dealing with your abilities and you and in your understanding. And then if you don't have questions, you can ask me right away. Where in classrooms, people are afraid to speak up or that type of thing.
Right, exactly. I have been starting to dabble more into the Zoom class type of stuff. I'm hoping to maybe do an angel card class actually over Zoom,
Oh,
but
neat.
I have to figure out the logistics of it. So we may have to talk about that at some point. It help me out a little bit. So
Well,
it's
I'll help you.
odd. I mean, if you're, I mean, I'm average tech savvy, like just getting set up. My daughter Gracie, who's 17, she was here trying to help me figure out stuff because I don't, she's good. She's like, Mom, the button's down there. I'm like, okay, like, and here I'm putting on my cheaters, trying to look at stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But it getting to know like your way around the technological piece of it, especially
Right.
now. I'm like, this is why I talk to dead people, because I much prefer to do that than to deal with technical types of things. So
Everybody said that COVID was tough on everybody, and I know it was because um, many people I had it. I ended up figuring out I had it, and Terry had it, and my mom and her husband did, and from that standpoint, of the people that have passed, as we all know, that's tough.
yes.
But from the other standpoint, from the spiritual end, it's actually grown so much for me this year. It's been an amazing year because not only have I learned how to do different things with Zoom, phones, and very few in-person things. We're starting some shows in February already that are going to be live again. So that's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah.
We're getting to the place, we still are 6 feet apart. We got plastic between us and all that stuff, but it's still there. But I mean, but that type of stuff has grown. And the biggest thing that I've seen this year of everybody growing is their ability to hear and see spirit themselves.
Yeah, we really had a pretty big uptick energetically with people's psychic abilities. And what I noticed was and I don't know for you, but I've had more people coming to me wanting help on how to understand what's happening to them. So they're seeing more things, they're
Yep.
experiencing, I have goosebumps just even talking about it. So I actually decided, with the help of, I have a medium student that I work with pretty consistently, and she said, we need you to help more people like me. And I was kind of hesitant to do teaching on mediumship. I had done it, years ago, and I kind of got sidetracked with other things going on. But I decided to do a psychic mediumship class for development for students, and I am doing it the last Saturday of the month, January, February, March, and April. And the
Cool.
class filled up like really quickly. I'm limited to just 10 people in the class.
Right.
But that's why, because people really want to understand what's going on for them. And these people are having some pretty big experiences. Like,
Right.
it's not just like, I think I saw a shadow. They're like, someone like full apparitioned in front of me, and someone's talking to me in my ear, or, there's doors and there's activity in the home. I'm like, yeah, you kind of have some sensitivities going on. And as you know, when spirit knows that you have a sensitivity, they will get to you and talk to you any way that they can. And so I've seen with just the shifting that we're moving from 3 to 4 to 5D. And once we got through that solstice on December 21st, I said,
Right.
we're no longer moving into that energy. We're in it. Like, we're in it. And we need to learn how to, you know, we need to figure out how to manage that and how to move forward comfortably. So there's definitely a need, and I think a demand now for people who want help and they don't know where to go. They're like, who do I talk to about this type of thing?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people get a little uncomfortable about it, like, and they get nervous or scared themselves.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing that I think that's probably the number one thing that I've gotten in my readings lately is that you know they that people are seeing things way more. I mean, because there's no distractions in their life anymore. There's no Packer games. There's no you going to you're no running around. You're not going out to eat. You're not going to PTA meetings and all that type of stuff. You got time to sit at home, and the more time we sit at home, the more spirit comes to us.
Right.
You know,
And I think it's also been a time where we've had to go inward. And so
right.
the more inward we go, If you've seen me or you've come to a class, you're a client, my thing is meditation, 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 meditation.
See, we're
And
so much alike.
I know. And so like people were, I was like, well, what is your spiritual practice? And they're like, well, I really don't have one. I tried it. I'm like, awesome. But we need to start getting you to connect to yourself, that
Right.
voice. And so that's when people are doing that, that just really gets the ball rolling. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can hear my team, my spirit team, or I'm seeing this, or I'm experiencing that. And then they're surprised it's happening. I was like, well, this is what you've been working towards, so that's a good thing, but that meditation and that, this whole last in 2020, for many people, forcing to go inward has been a really big game changer for a lot of people, which is good because that's what needed to happen. And it needs to continue to happen. That can't stop. We've got to keep that ball, rolling.
And the more we look at it, that's what all these issues are with the whole country right now, this country and others, is the fact we're in 5D. So if you're going to fight it, you're fighting to try to live the old way, which ain't there anymore. And it's not meant to be with us anymore. And
Right.
That's where all these issues are coming from, is the people need to rise up. We need to be one. We need to love each other. And just like what heaven is, you know what I mean? Or the other side, whatever.
Well, it's that unity consciousness. And so,
Correct.
Moving into that unity consciousness space, which we've, I think we're moving into that space, but the polarity is still there. And that's what we have to be able to shift through. And that's going to take time. It's just, there's no question about it. Those things are going to take time. And I catch myself, I'm like, oh, I'm total. And I kind of joke, I'm like, I need to be a 3D human for like 10 minutes. Just let me do it. Right. And then I get it out of my system. I'm like, okay. So, so much of what my spirit team through meditation, and I'm sure your team guided you in spirit too, is that we've had to really work on keeping our space, our energy, in a higher vibration. So
Right, exactly.
Yep. And it's so important that we pay attention to what we're consuming energetically on every and all level. And so, if you're reading things and you're too caught up in the mainstream media or this or that, it will make you crazy. I don't care what your belief system is. Too much of anything will make you nuts. So
right.
That's something that I really talk to my clients about. And when I do my weekly angel card readings, letting people know, like, what are you consuming? Because that will absolutely impact your vibration and how you feel. And it also impacts your ability to, hear and see things and really access your gifts, because it can block you up. It's like energetic plumbing gets blocked up because you're not flowing the way that you need to. So it's important that, we are clearing our energy and paying attention to what we're consuming on all levels. Right. So, and that just helps people to get more connected, because like you said, people want to know how to do sometimes, do what we do, but more. And I think sometimes that happens when they've lost a loved one and they're like, I just want to feel my husband or my mother or a parent or a sibling. And these types of things are what help you to open up so that you can absolutely tap into that energy and feel, the love and support from our loved ones on the other side.
Right. And what's really exciting, in this year. So overall, I have to say, it wasn't 2020 wasn't bad, from a standpoint for me, because I've had so many students graduate this year, and 3 of them now started their own businesses, already, and they're all doing well. We've had so many more that are working on it, that are, even here in Shadow Hunters with me. So the people are great, And what's kind of fun is we're also seeing that grow now with Psychics Unite. We're seeing that we're just about to the phase where we're going to open up a Psychics Unite school.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I need other teachers.
I was going to say, I'll come teach. Just let me know. Yeah, absolutely.
I need teachers.
Yeah, I love teaching. And I feel like over the years, you work on honing your craft, you work on honing your gifts. And for a lot of people who are just starting out, or, trying to understand what their gifts are, trusting what they're getting is the biggest challenge, because so many times, and I know you're shaking your head. Yes. Like, people don't trust what they're getting. And
Right.
you know, if I've said it once, and there are times we've had to remind ourselves of that, like
Oh
something,
yeah.
you know, is like wonky, or when you're like, just say it, and then you say it and you're like, yep, there it was. So, you know, we have to really trust what we're getting, and that's a big piece of that success with people. But it's important that we, you know, can provide that information, and it's nice to be able to know that there are people that do this work that work in integrity and honesty, because that's super important to me. So many times people will come and say, well, I saw this reader and they told me, you know, how many times have you heard that? Like, they told me they need
No,
$3,000 to undo the curse that is on me. And I'm like, oh, please, did you just, hopefully you didn't, you give me that money and I'll do readings for you for the next 4 years, you know? Like,
exactly. I'm
so,
happy with that. Keep going.
so you know, it's interesting because you know, I want people to feel safe and comfortable.
Right.
And that's something that I think is very important. And, you know, when people are choosing a psychic medium or someone who does energy work or this type, you know, readings or whatever it is, you know, you want to go to someone that you trust and that you feel good with. And that's super important. Just because someone says they can do something doesn't mean they should be, you know,
Right.
like,
Right.
you know? So
You know, and that's the thing too, even with Psychics Unite this year, that we've grown into our thing to be all Zoom right now. So all the groups are Zoom, and we're doing all chapter meetings on Monday nights where everybody from around the country that's a part of Psychics Unite comes into meetings. So that in itself is fun. But the reason I say that is because that's the same thing we want to discuss, is the fact that the people that work with us are going to come in from a place of love and of likeness and you know and integrity, which other people won't come into our group because they don't want that, because they know they're going to be judged by the others, so they know that they can't do anything over. So that's why we're hoping to get this bigger here this next year, and we're really working hard on it. Devin and Sharon and Jen are really working very very hard on putting this together. So this year is going to be the year where we can get out and help more people, you
yeah,
know. But you know, so that's where it's got to come down to, because people need somewhere to go and they don't need to be deceived.
right, absolutely. And that integrity, that trust level has to be there. And what's I think interesting is, you know, messages that I've received even over the last year is, you know, we as light workers, we came here to do specific work. And there's no question that I'm here to do the work that I'm doing, and you are too. And we have done our work, right? How much healing has gone into our own, like even this last year,
Every day.
right? Every day. Like,
Every day.
yeah, so it's important that we do our work and our healing so that we can better serve others. And that's always been my goal when I work with people. And so it allows us to better serve people, because this is why we're here. And as we move into this unity consciousness and we're moving into this new era, if you will, of 5D energy,
Mm-hmm.
this is game time for us. This is like, you know, the Packers are in the playoffs this weekend, and so are the Baltimore Ravens. Just want to shout that out. I'm a Baltimore girl, so I know.
You're
But
doing so well.
I know. So, but this is our game time. This is what we came here for. This
Right.
is why we're suited up. This is why we needed to be ready so that we can better serve and help other people on whatever level that is. So people who are students of this mediumship, psychic intuitive, or our clients, the people that come to us for help and guidance and counsel,
Mm-hmm.
that's and healing ultimately. So yeah, that's super important right now.
You know, and you said it earlier, but it's so true. The two biggest things that I give anybody that wants to do this or just wants to live a better life: one, meditate. Number one, meditate. Number two, learn your energy and know the difference between your energy and everybody else's. And
Right.
those are my first 2 or 3 weeks of class, are just energy work, just trying to figure out those two things. Because without that, you can't go any further. You know what I mean? Because
Uh,
until you truly understand yourself, it's a waste of time.
right. And, you know, as so many of the sensitives that work and do this work are empathic. And for so many years, I didn't understand that that's who I was, like in my 20s and even probably into my early 30s. And once I realized what once I realized that I was picking up other people's energy, I was able to then say, I don't want that stuff. So when I am teaching too, the one thing that I ask people to ask themselves energetically is this mine? Is
Right.
this
Right.
mine?
Yes.
Because if it's not yours, you don't need to carry it. And you
Nope.
can just lovingly disconnect from that. You don't have to carry that. I often say we're like energetic pack mules. We just keep putting it on and putting it on and putting it on. Like, we don't have to do that. We can lovingly disconnect from those things and observe, right? We can
Right.
disconnect and observe other people. And then that helps us to, like you said, decipher, is this my energy or is this someone else's? And then that lays the groundwork for when spirit starts to step forward and how they're coming in. So
Right.
you can just, decipher and hear what they have to say. So it's mediumship is such an amazing process, but I do call it heavy lifting. Like, it's no joke.
I mean, it's easy work, but it's hard work. That's what I
Yes.
tell everybody, because you don't do anything to listen to spirit, but you have to do all these other crap around it to listen to spirit, because spirit is always giving us the messages. We started the show and we were talking about it, but I always say, if you went to a convention and everybody was deaf and you yelled, "Hey," and one person turned around, you go talk to them because they know you heard it. But that's what spirit does us to every day and all the time. Spirit's yelling, "Hey," and the first person that turns, they're going to talk to you.
Right.
So it's the more, but see, that's why it's easy for us to hear the spirit. But all the stuff that we impose over us or allow anybody else to, all the baggage that was given to us from parents and friends and society and all that type of stuff, we have to remove before this all works.
Absolutely.
I'm not a doctor and I don't prescribe, so tell everybody there. So, but the amount of extra baggage and energy you carry does cause health issues with you, period.
Absolutely. I can't even tell you how many times that's come up. And spirit's very straightforward about those things. Spirit, as far as a lot of readings and messaging that we receive, is about self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes the amount of stress that we take on, whether it's physical, emotional, energetic, or spiritual, whatever that is.
Right.
We have a responsibility to really manage that stress level. And it is super, super important, because as we all know, that can manifest into something physical. And we don't want that. We want we want to be happy and healthy and, in a good space as often as we can. So
Right.
it's important.
That it is. So, but yeah, if we don't know those differences, you don't know.
Right.
And you can't sleep, and then you have problems and blah, 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 blah. It's just too much.
Well, I
It's
think
too much.
for a lot of people, it manifests into anxiety. I see that often.
True.
Anxiety and depression. People will come in to see me, and right away their team's like, they've got issues with anxiety, and then we start talking. And then once I explain that you're taking on other people's stuff, and they're like, "Wait, what?" Like, that's a thing? But I'm just trying to be helpful and nice. I was like, well, I understand that, but we can't, as much as we want to save the world, people have to save themselves first, right? Right. So
I agree.
we can give them a hand and do what we can, but ultimately, I think that we saw that even last year, like, we have to take accountability for our healing so that we can, better understand what's going on and tune in the way that we need to. And it's important. Those are just some important skill sets to be able to have. Otherwise we get sidetracked and then we don't kind of come into our soul purpose. And it's super important that we do that.
And that's, you mentioned that they just don't know, because nobody knows what they don't know. And that's why we created Psychics Unite, because it's time for everybody to know. Because then you can, like you exactly said, then you can choose to heal yourself, because now you know what it is.
Right.
Now you know what you're picking. Or you can come to a meeting and people can help you by just telling you. So then you have the tools then to go out and do it. It's not everybody's going to be a teacher like you and I. You're just not. but we're here, we like it better if you came in and said, I think I have this, this, and this. Okay, good. Let's fix it.
Right.
That type of thing. Instead of going, oh, okay, we got to start at nowhere,
Yeah.
So I agree with you. You have to take the responsibility yourself.
Yeah. And but I think it is about tools, right? And it's about understanding. But so how many times have you had a client come in or you've had a conversation with someone and you've shared some, little insights or tips around, maybe they're taking on too much energy and they're feeling these types of things and they're holding themselves responsible for their mom or their dad or their sibling or their children, and they have all this anxiety. And I'm like, we got to get you to understand that, you don't have to do that. You can allow people to work through their stuff and give them what they need and not take that, like I said, don't be the pack mule. And it's such a good visual. And once people understand, they're like, okay, I get it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So Devin's just agreeing with us, very similar. So, but I saw this in there and I have to put this up.
Oh, yes, Kim, proof it. Yes. I told Scott I was going to, my husband, I used to work for Willie Davis. I don't know if you ever did that. So, and I have a signed Willie Davis jersey in the basement. My husband will say that it's his, but I did get it signed for him. So he's like, well, why don't you just do it in front of the Green Bay Packer jersey? I'm like, it probably would be a good weekend to do that, but I don't want to, upset the apple cart with anyone else that, maybe. So we'll look at flowers in my kitchen.
That was good too.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I still have all my Larry McCarron stuff. I have a lot of autographs because I used to work for the TV station in Green Bay.
Yep.
So
that's
how
awesome.
I knew everybody. But Larry McCarron was at the TV station, and I actually got to go when he was inducted in the Packer Hall of Fame. I got to sit at his table that dinner night. So amazing. So big Packer fan. Sorry, everybody, but
no, that's and like I said, we're in the playoffs now, so at least it gives us something to look forward to this weekend. So
yeah,
that's
Saturday
awesome.
afternoon.
Yes, and then the Ravens are on after. I haven't watched much of the football. It's like, let me know when we get to playoffs because then I know it's serious. I used to get so stressed out about football games. My husband would be like, maybe you need to watch these in another room. I'm like, nah. So I just think with everything that was, this year, I kind of got into doing other things and not sitting down and watching football. So, but this last weekend, I did watch some of the games. It was kind of fun. So
you're moving 5D.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the things that changes. So
absolutely.
I know you and I've talked about this before, but I always bring it up on the show with every psychic medium here is in the whole hell and demons.
Oh.
Because I want more and more people to hear that, because I say it every week or as much as I can that there's no such thing, but there's so many more people that always go to it. My theory is a lot of times psychic mediums don't know the difference between hate, anger, frustration, depression. From an emotional standpoint, those are very similar emotions. Even when humans were portraying them. So as you reading a spirit, those are very similar emotions. So maybe somebody hates somebody, that doesn't mean they're a demon. That just means there's hate or frustration or something like that in those realms.
Right. I think that when we talk about, to me, again, it's energetic. I would say that there's no hell.
Right.
So, and it's interesting because my husband loves to go to Deadwood.
Okay.
And it's one of the most haunted areas in the country. It's in South Dakota, right?
Right.
South Dakota, right? And he stayed in the Bullock Hotel, which they had literally just done a paranormal video of this hotel at on one of the paranormal shows. And he spent the night there. And I was like, are you crazy? Like, because we've had experiences together paranormal wise. Right. And I've just basically I can't. So I told him when he comes home, I sage bombed him. Like I had more sage, and I'm like, don't you come in this house without me saging you, because I don't want and I could feel like stuff on him. But when it comes to like that low, I call it low vibrational or denser energy. And you understand, like you do this, like it's the paranormal stuff. And I grew up in Baltimore and I was like 90 minutes from Gettysburg.
Right.
So I would go, we were crazy town. I was in college. We would go to the cemeteries with Ouija boards in Gettysburg.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I would
I'm
do
okay. Like my hair didn't fall out, so, but we did some crazy stuff. And then we were like dry. And this is when I didn't really fully understand my gifts. I hadn't come fully into them.
Right.
I would be driving in a car down like back, because Pennsylvania is very back road and hilly. And I'm like, why are there men in uniforms crossing the street? And then I was like, oh my God, I'm seeing soldiers, right? And this was again when I was like in like 19, 20, 21 years old. So, you have some really crazy experiences, but I believe that energy, it's dense and it can stick around.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So then it feeds off other people's energy,
Right.
and that can absolutely be a problem. But this is for me and the work that I do, I stay in the light. That's just where my jam is.
Yep.
And there are people that clear houses and clear land and clear businesses and homes and all those things. And I have had to call people to help others with those issues. And I can see when there's activity in a home. I mean, I see all that, but I don't necessarily want to be the one to walk into it.
Who are you gonna call? Me.
Right. And that's why I like you to do it. Because it's fascinating to me.
It is. It's wonderful.
But it can scare people, right? And they want their grandmom or their granddad, and then it's always funny. People say, "Well, if I sage my house, will my grandfather leave?" No, but we need to get rid of some of the other stuff that's floating around.
Right.
So
and this weekend I'll be in Milwaukee on Friday and Saturday. I'm one of two groups. These are the first two groups we combined as one. But this is the first time we're ever investigating a place, one of the most famous places in Milwaukee. And
where is it? I don't want to say it until you tell me where.
Starts with a T.
Oh, I don't know. Are you okay? Okay.
It's a hall.
What's that?
It's a hall. It's in a big building downtown.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So first time. So we're very excited.
Yeah.
And not too many stories there, but everybody says it's haunted. So we're going in to find out. We did the Riverside over Halloween.
I
Riverside
saw that.
Theater. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And hopefully someday I can get into the past. I'm trying. I want to get into there bad.
So again, the benefit of growing up out east is being close to lots of historical areas. And I've always been fascinated and had a very high interest in the Civil War. Obviously, again, growing up, down the road from Pennsylvania and Gettysburg. And my mom and dad, when I was younger, we would go to DC, and we went into Ford's Theater.
Okay. Yeah.
And there was a time when you could go up to the
box.
Yeah, the box. Thank you. Where he was sitting. And I have goosebumps just talking about it. And now when we went the last time, I think it was Jim, and we had the kids with us, they don't let you go up now because they have had too much traffic, and it's just the theater is wearing, it's old, right?
Right.
To have seen where he was shot, and then you go across the street to the house where he was taken. Now, mind you, Lincoln was incredibly tall, and the beds that he was in were special made, and they had him in a bed that was not very big. Like his feet were, hanging off. But to see like that theater is just incredible. And then there's some theaters in Chicago that I've been to, and I'll sit there and I start kind of looking around. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's just so much activity in this place. I'm just going to focus on the show right now. But that's like I said, that history. I love that history.
Me too. That's another good part of this whole thing is the history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chicago holds a ton. And my husband and I were in the Dells one week. No, not the Dells, Door County. And there was a place up there, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was one of those old Capone places where he would come in.
Right.
And I don't think, Jim, do you remember the name of that restaurant? It was a brew house, but I think it's since burned down. And
Okay.
we go in, and I look behind the bar, and there's like guys with Tommy guns. Like I could see it. So then the waitress is like, "Will you come upstairs? Because we have this little boy and he won't leave." I'm like, "Sure, let's go upstairs." So I'm like upstairs. It was like a hotel part of the
Right.
restaurant. And there was a ton of activity up there. And I came out, and my husband's like, what is happening? And I was like, well, this is what happens when you are married to a psychic medium. So, but it's so amazing to like see the history that you see, like, you know, like I said, when you're in Gettysburg and you can literally see soldiers walking across the street every night, and you know, going into some of these old homes. Jim and I stayed in a bed and breakfast. It was an 1800s bed and breakfast, and he's not, he's sensitive to a point, but neither one of us got any sleep that night because there was a mom and two children that were not happy that we were in their room, and they made it very clear. So like, sun came up, we packed our stuff, and we were both like, and he did that because he thought, oh, Stacie likes bed and breakfast. I'm like, don't ever do that again. You know?
By the way, if you haven't seen the comments, Scott Smith's in the chat room. Hi, Scott.
Oh.
He loves us both. But yeah, so just some quick stories. Quick, I was in Gettysburg 6, 7 years ago, maybe 8 already. But we were out in the battlefields, and I'm like standing up on top of one of the things, and I'm looking out there, and everybody goes, "What are you looking at?" I go, "This is cool. They're going to have this reenactment over here. Look at all these people coming." And everybody got up there and looked at it and go, "What reenactment? We don't see nothing." I was like, "Oh, okay, ghosty, ghosty, ghosty."
Right.
You
right.
know, so you know, it's fun to see that type of thing. I have not been to somebody. Jamie asked if I was to the Fister. I've been to the Fister, but I've never investigated the Fister other than me being in there trying to track stuff down. So you can do that, but you can't. I have not been able to investigate that. No. So let's talk about. I want to talk about Ouija boards too, because it's kind of talking about the same thing, and it came up in here. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that everything we use as psychic mediums is a divination tool. You know, if you use tarot cards, if you use electronics, if you're a ghost hunter, you know, you EMF meters, recorders, you're using divination tools to talk to spirit. Even us, we're kind of like a divination tool because we talk to spirit. That's what it is. That's how we speak and talk with spirit. Because I know that the company that makes the Ouija boards do not have a supply of demons that they insert into every Ouija board before they send it out to you and to Toys R Us.
Right.
It
Right.
just don't.
Right.
You know, so it is the level of intent because you know, you and I don't believe in the other side. But now, do I believe in negative energies? Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, and I call them lower energies, and that's what they are. And I believe that we make our own happiness and unhappiness. And if we really wanted to live in that type of negative energies, yeah, you know, we could. And that's what some people think are possessions and that type of stuff, is because that's your choice, though. You're choosing that. And the same thing is when you're in the Ouija board. If you're doing it, playing around with it, if you don't have the right intent, you don't know exactly what's going to come through. You don't understand the energy. So it's not inherently bad. It unless you're not using it right. But that's the same thing with dowsing rods. That's the same thing with pendulums. Anything. So just because you can talk one way, because you're talking another way when the pendulum's going both ways. So
absolutely. And it is about intention. And I do feel like, you know, you can kind of open up a window and invite trouble in, basically, and you don't want to do that. So that's why setting the intention that you're working with high vibrational energy, love and light energy. I do angel cards, angel oracle cards, angel tarot. Tarot is such an art. It really is. And you know, I can do angel tarot, and I've done a couple different classes with, you know, Radley Valentine, who that's like his thing. But
right.
certain things with the different, with the deck that it doesn't stick in my head. There are certain things that just don't stick. So I'm like, I don't need to learn this because I'm not going to retain it anyway, but I can do this other stuff and I'm just fine. So, but I have a lot of respect for readers, tarot readers, really good tarot readers, because it's amazing. And you're obviously using your intuition, but I love angel cards and, pendulums and, like you said, dowsing rods, because if you are open and you set the right intention, it's a really great tool to be able to have to use for yourself. So,
Yeah, but that's the same thing. And I lump Ouija boards in there too, because it is just another tool to speak to the dead, and whatever your intention is what the main issue is. And if
right.
you don't know how to close it, I've seen ghost hunters have like those radios that like the SB7s and other radios that have spirits speak through them.
Yes.
And I had them where they have not closed the session, and they're sitting in their house, and all of a sudden it comes on. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't closed the session. I even do that when I do table tipping.
Yeah.
When we do that, I always pray to the table first, and then when I'm done, I close the table from communication, because you don't want that. You don't need that energy. And that's what we were talking about earlier, is knowing our energy compared to spirit's energy and keeping them separate.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that sometimes when you are more experienced with this gift, because there are some mediums that will really blend the energy of a spirit with themselves. And again, it depends on the medium.
Okay.
That's a way of mediumship.
Yeah.
But I prefer people, like, for me, energy stands in front of me, and that way I can, connect with them that way, but I feel them, and I will sometimes invite them closer because I can't see or hear as much as I want. And
Right.
it's interesting because every reading and every spirit is different. They have their own personalities and they have their own ways of communicating, and some are better communicators than other. I mean, you walk out of some readings and you're like, I wish every reading could be like this because that was amazing. And then
Right.
you have other ones where it's like you're pulling teeth, and I'm like, if you're going to want to talk, you got to step forward enough so that I can give someone, some validating information. So it's interesting how spirit works, and over time, you understand how to pull that in and how to work with what someone is or isn't giving you, and what, I don't know if you ever experienced that, but sometimes I will have physical pain because, someone had a heart attack or they had a
Yeah.
stroke, and I'm having pain in a specific area. And as soon as I validate it, then the pain will like release out of myself, but it's gone, and they don't get that opportunity to stick in with me because
Right.
yeah.
That's funny, because we were just having a class on that, I think 2 weeks ago at Cypress Unite, exactly about that exact thing, about spirits who come in too close, or we don't set our boundaries with the spirit, and they come in and we feel that energy. And like we've been talking about all night, I tell my students, we don't mix energy with anyone, human or dead. Nothing. We are our own energy, always our own energy.
And
I
I
was
go
I
ahead.
was doing a movie once, Children of the Grave 2, and I was one of the main mediums, and then we had another medium that was with me, and she was a younger medium, and we were walking up the stairs of this poorhouse, and we walked in, and there was a guy showing me he died of a heart attack, because I felt chest pain. I said, "Step back." I said, "I don't need to feel it." About 2 minutes later, all of a sudden you hear him back, "Oh, I think I'm having a heart attack." Now the bad part of that was she actually had heart problems.
Oh no. Yeah.
So she thought she was really having it. I said, "No, you're just encountering the spirit." We took her outside, we cleared her, and all of a sudden she came back and she was fine. But where the difference lies between this stuff, is if we don't know the difference between ours and theirs,
Right.
and that's what scares most people.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what happens is that fear or that discomfort overtakes their strength and confidence to be able to not have to, to know how to handle that. And
Right.
that can sometimes be a challenge, but yeah, it's important that spirit know boundaries, and that you as a medium or as a psychic intuitive are able to really present that. That's why I think it's important that when you do this work, you have a little bit of your own process. So I always open with prayer and I close with prayer, and because that's what needs to happen. But that's when I invite spirit in, and when I'm done, that's when they need to go home. And I often say, I love you, and I love your dead people, but you can take them home with you. So,
Right.
I don't want them coming home with me.
So Sandy, who runs our Psychics Unite group in North Portage and Westfield, up in that area, she says, I think Spirit gives it so the sitter knows who we are. Of course it is.
Right.
But, I just rather have them tell us I had a heart attack than
Right.
for us to go through the pain or the understanding of it, because we don't need that type of thing anymore.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I agree with you, Sandy, 100%. But younger students, they don't understand it, and that intent is the whole thing. Because to me, I've learned more because I did ayahuasca, and after I did it, my readings got stronger in the fact that I channel more of my readings now. So I let spirit come through more. I don't let them come into me. I let them channel through and use my voice. So I don't even have to think anymore. It's always like just blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, what did I say? I don't know. I just said stuff, and it works, and it's right. But that's another form too. So that we work differently, you and I. But trust me, I did it exactly like we did before.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, and that's what I tell, I'll ask someone, the client, have you had a reading before? And if they've told me that they've gone to another medium, and maybe we talk at the end, and they'll say, this was very different, I really liked this experience. And I try to explain to people, every medium has a different way of doing their work.
Yeah.
Because there are some mediums that get names and dates, and I don't remember names in life. So Spirit told me years ago, we're not giving you names because you don't remember names in life. And I don't. What was
I don't either.
name, right? Who are you? But that's, and then every once in a while and then every once in a while I'll get a name, or I'll get some numbers or dates or things like that. And I think it depends on the client. I think it depends on their needs and what they need to hear validation wise. But every medium has their own style. Every medium has their own way of connecting and how they bring that forward. And I feel like that is a good thing. Like, I don't, we look at some of these main mediums that have, made their way, like John Edwards, who's been around for forever. I've seen him live, some of these other mediums, and it's like, I appreciate their process, but I have my own. And once I really embraced that I had my own process and I was having success with that process, and I didn't need to look like Teresa Caputo or John Edward or, that whatever it was. And those are all great mediums. That's what makes it nice. And so there are some mediums that resonate, or some people that resonate with me, and they would resonate with someone, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think
but see, that's why we did the show. That's why we did the gallery
right.
show together. And we have and I still do that with our Psychics Unite groups. We go from group to group to town, and we still do that type of show because it shows, just so everybody knows, it's a gallery reading. So instead of having one medium on stage or one or two, we have up to 5 or 6. And each one, when we go to the person, we go to the entire group that came with it.
Right.
So yes, they're going to get a better reading, but normally it's the same people all across. There's families and sisters and moms and stuff. So it's easier because if we go back to it later, it's the same people, so it doesn't make sense. But every medium on stage is different. Stacie and I we've always read since I met you, very similar.
Yeah.
But the other 3 were not.
Right.
Very different. And that's what's so cool about this is because yes, all of us do it different. All of us have skills in different places. And that's okay, because that's what I tell my students too. If you're coming into classes with me, you're not going to read like me. I'm not going to let you, because you can't. You have to read like you. You have to do spirit the way you do spirit, not the way I do spirit.
Right.
Just, it's never going to happen. If I taught you, it's not going to work.
Right. I've often said the world is fulfilled enough with one Stacie medium. We don't need, how many of them running around.
But you can tell everybody in the chat room's going, we only need one Scotty.
Right.
So, oh my God, there's a ghost coming.
Oh, see, there it is.
know. I always have that around. People always go, "Is there a ghost? Let me check." And I bring this out, and they go, "Oh, come on." You know, the cool thing you were talking about before is I have musical oracles.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
a fun deck.
That's
You know,
super cool.
a lot of times I bring out Elvis or other things. So yeah, musical oracles. That's always fun to have too. But
Did you
yes,
have
go
you
ahead.
ever did you ever go to Memphis to his house?
Yes, and I cried
Yeah.
because I saw him.
I cried because there was carpeting on the walls. And it was green shag and I got
It's
quite
beautiful.
frightened. I thought I was in 70s hell. It was quite entertaining. No,
Re-
it was really a very amazing experience. I felt him too. And when you walk in and you can't get past the steps, where because I was just kept thinking he's up there, like his spirit was really up there. So it
right.
was very
It's funny
interesting.
you said that because that's the exact same place I first felt it.
Yep. I was like,
Then
oh,
you go out back by the farm,
yep.
and I look back at the house, and you can see into the windows upstairs,
Ugh,
and I swore he was standing right there, and I
yeah.
started bawling. I just started crying, and I didn't cry. I kept crying until after I left the gravesite. Uh,
Aw,
I love Elvis, by the way, just love Elvis. But nobody could sing like Elvis either, so don't pretend to be Elvis.
right.
You know,
Exactly.
sing like yourself, and
Right.
that's the same thing we're doing here: is be yourself.
It's very important because you bring something special to the table and it's important that you let that shine.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and that's the best thing. So, but yes, be yourself. Allow yourself to, like you said, shine. Allow yourself to connect with spirit the way you need to connect with spirit. But that's why, as good teachers, I know you and I, we teach you to be the best.
Right.
It's about you. It's not about how long the classes have to last and all. You have to hit every week. If you're not hitting the classwork and you don't get it, we need to stay in that same place. You don't just want to move forward for the heck of it.
Right.
It's not about that. I'm not going to move forward until you get it, until you understand.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's funny because again, I have been working with a student more one-on-one, and there are times when she's now doing readings on her own, and she's
Mm-hmm.
created her own business, and she's doing very well. But she'll text me on occasion. She'll be like, "I don't know how you do this. I don't know how you have done this. I don't know how you do this. I don't know how you're raising a family. I don't know how you work full time." She goes, "I just did 2 readings, and I need to go to bed for like 6 days." I'm like, "Well, it
Let's
will."
talk about meditation and not exchanging energies. Here we go.
I'm like, well, we're going to talk about that. But it's, the thing I think with this work is that um, there are going to be days like any job that you do that you're going to want to walk off the job. You're going to be like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. But there's more times when it's so rewarding and you know that you're making a difference in someone's life.
Right,
And that to me is my report card. That to me is what keeps me driven and it's my why, right? Because we always say you
right,
have to remember your why.
right,
But it can be, there are moments it's hard, when you have someone come in and they share their story and a loved one had killed themselves or someone was tragically killed or it gets intense and you have to be able to hold yourself,
right,
hold spirit, and hold space for your clients. It's like a five-way call. And and that's where spirit and the meditation and your healing and all of that is so important because that will help you, kind of process and move through those times much more with more ease and grace, basically.
right. So Kim asked me, by the way, if you could stay a little later, do you mind if we go over the top of the hour?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, I want to be cognizant of your time, but if you have questions for us, Stacie or myself or both of us, please put them in the Facebook page, and we'll be more than happy to answer them here towards the end of the show. So Kim asked, "How do I get musical oracle deck?" I got it at the RAM, which is the Racine Art Museum.
Oh, nice.
I got that as we went there, and they had a bunch of those, and I see them around all over the place. I saw them in an art museum in Nashville too. So a lot of the art museums buy from the same people, I think. So
That's
that's
cool.
where I got my Oracle deck from. So I was like, I saw that right away. I was like, so All right, I'm gonna pull one card for everybody. I don't normally do this. Let's just pull the oracle. Let's see who we get tonight for tonight's show. So
I love cards.
tell me when to stop, Stacie.
Stop.
Okay. See, now I don't even know this person.
Who is it?
Edith Piaf, Piaf.
I don't know.
Oh, it says live with every fiber of your being, weaponize your flaws.
Use everything.
Yep. Kind of what we're talking about tonight. So it came up even though we don't know the person. So that's kind of cool.
Very relevant.
Very neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Here we go. Jen's got a question. Yeah, behind your glasses.
I know. This is me turning 50 in 2 months. There will be no judgment. Okay, so what's the best advice you could give to someone starting out? What advice do you give to someone having an off day? I think when you're first starting out with this, understanding that you need to be super patient with yourself, that there needs to be some self-reflection time. There have been mediums that tell me after they're done their readings, they kind of do a check-in with their team to see if something could have been done differently or handled differently. And just know that you are a work in progress. I did my training with James Van Praagh, some of it, right? And I remember saying to a friend of mine, I just want to be like James Van Praagh. And my girlfriend said, you will in 30 years. And I was like, wah, wah, right? So, you know, it just, you are a work in progress. As you grow and evolve, so will your work. So it's important to remember that too. And when you're having an off day, there's a reason for that. And so we have to trust in spirit. We have to trust in our own gifts. And again, doing some of that self-reflection when you're having an off day can and will be helpful. And I feel like it's important to make sure you really do manage your self-care in a really, like, it's important. My team is very on me about, like, every 2 months, I got to take like some decent amount of time off, 3 to 5 days or something, where I either go away or I go do some decompressing. So that self-care piece is very important. So when you're having an off day, you have an off day. I don't care how many years you've been doing this, you're going to have an off day. It is what it is. Energy shifts and changes, and we have to shift and change with that energy. So just know to go with how things are ebbing and flowing for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Now, the one thing I would say different is I talk to my team before. So anytime that before I start my phone readings, in-person readings, shows, whatever, I always say, okay, guys, are we here? And they all go, yep, we're here. I said, are we ready today? And they'll either give me advice of what I have to, where I have to either come up with something different or a different thought or different feeling, or go, nope, we're ready to go. Let's go. And then we go. You know, so the one after it is a good thing, good point too. But use them up front too, because that's why they're here. Yep. They're not here. They don't think we're bugging them. They're here for a reason. They're here to help us, not only in our spiritual work, but in our daily lives.
Absolutely.
So allow them to help you with everything.
Yeah, and that's why having kind of a set process, like when I go to the center, I sage and I pray and I call in Archangel Michael and the archangels and my spirit team and guides. And I specifically ask for readings of high vibration, of healing. And I always ask that I leave people better than how I find them.
Right.
So, okay, what can you do? What can one do when you truly keep having trouble grounding? Well, lately we all have.
Right.
Drink. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, drink water. That's right, one thing.
Well, there you go. Yeah, drinking water is very important. A couple things that you can do: get some crystals that you know are very grounding for yourself. So you may want to do hematite or obsidian, things that are protective and grounding. even holding that crystal, that earth, that rock energy can be very helpful. Using an oil like vetiver and some grounding type of essential oils can be very beneficial when you're trying to ground yourself. I always find myself, if I really have to ground, I'll go outside and I will put my feet in the ground or snow or what sand, whatever, and I feel the roots growing out of my feet into Mother Earth. And that's like a really great exercise. I even do it in meditation in the mornings. When I do meditate, I envision those roots going into Mother Earth. So call upon Mother Earth, Gaia, Pachamama's energy to come into your space and your energy and really help kind of ground you. But again, you may not have seen, but I wear a lot of bracelets and stuff that have different properties. And so like a crystal bracelet or a gem bracelet that helps with grounding might be something that could be beneficial for you too.
Yeah. It's funny. There's someone in the room right now watching us, and we were out one day, and everybody talks about with trees and grounding and how they do it. And they couldn't actually believe that I actually walked up to the tree and hugged it, because that's the level of what you really need, because
Yep.
trees give you the love, plants give you the love, earth gives you the love.
Yep.
Mother ayahuasca's with me, and she became part of my team because I feel so drawn to that type of nature, so the Peruvian customs and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's with me, so it's all about the earth and the leaves and the things, and it can be all different, because I love spearmint, and I use that essential oil all the time. It's like going all day long in my room. And if it's not going, I go, I kind of like, sure. I'm like, where is it? I got to put it in, or I ran out of water. But, and I use rose quartz. So everybody does things different. So allow when you go to the stores, like we promote one in Cosmic Delights here in Madison. But if you go to a store, put your hand in the rocks and let it tell you which rock.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. That's a great way to explore into it. The crystals will tell you what you need.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, Sandy sells them too. She's our group leader too. So either one of us. And then there's the one that we went to that you came to see me in a gallery show. What is Sorrell's place called again? I always forget it. You remember her shopping?
I'm going to forget it too right now.
Me too. So we'll figure it out, and we'll promote her, because she's an amazing soul too. So very happy to have her in this type of Wisconsin. So any more questions? I'm looking up and down. I miss all of them. They go by. Yeah, there you are, Gail. I saw you. Gail gave me the face, because I told her about hugging trees, and she goes, she gives me the face.
Yeah.
Yes, Gail, that's the one. I actually hug trees. Actually, Jen had another one that was kind of cool. We'll go back to Jen again.
Oh, what's the best advice you received from a mentor before beginning this work? Oh gosh, that's a really great question. That's a great question.
Yeah, it's great.
It's gonna make me think here. I'm trying to think.
You want me to go with mine?
Yeah, go ahead. Give me a second. That's a really good question.
Mine was from Derek Acora. He was a psychic medium from England, and he was on the show Most Haunted. And he was the first one that ever really confirmed that I was a medium. And he was really the one that gave me a reading. Everything that I'm doing today is exactly what he told me on my radio show 10 years ago. I mean, it was quite a while when he told me this. And so I can remember him most clearly saying to me, trust yourself. And he says, if you don't trust yourself, none of this will work.
Yeah.
He said, because too often people do it. And I had it, and I talk about my spirit guide, Steve, all the time. And early on in my life, right after Derek said that, I got into a fight with Steve, and I said to him, I said, you are effing blah, I'm just all the swear words out. I've never seen you do anything. I've never seen it. I hear you, but I don't believe you're real. You're just my mind. And then all of a sudden, our bathroom door in the house slammed shut. Nobody in the bathroom. And he goes, don't you effing ever make me say or do it again.
That's
But that comes from that same place, is we tend to doubt ourselves, or we tend to let our ego get too big on us, that we know that spirit's there. And sometimes when we go, oh, is that spirit or is that me? How can it ever be you? It can't be. It is spirit, because we don't know better than spirit. We're not better than spirit. If you just listen and trust spirit, everything will be fine.
right.
And I guess that's my biggest thing in my life. And I thank Derek for everything he's done. I'm sorry he's passed, but we still talk now.
Yeah, right. So I think when she was asking, like, from your mentor, I was thinking of someone in the physical. And one of the things that I really tried to do was I overanalyzed my readings when I first started doing this work. And I would internalize and worry about if that person received the messages the way they needed to, if I was good enough, if I was accurate enough, so on and so forth. And it was actually in a meditation type of messaging from Archangel Michael. And he tends to stick his foot up my arse on a regular basis with humor and love.
Yeah.
But he really taught me, and my team really taught me, that I have to trust, right? What you were saying.
Yep.
Spirit is giving the client what they need, and
Right.
then I need to let that go.
Right.
Because I kept taking my work home with me, technically, because I would worry and obsess about it. And I found myself actually becoming so emotionally involved with the readings that, again, it was impacting my mood and how tired I was. And again, this was early on. And I think we kind of all go through that. And my team just really stepped forward and is like, what you're giving someone is what you give them. You give them the message and then you're done. And
Right.
it's not it's not done in a unloving or insensitive way, but it's that you know and you trust. You give them what spirit knows they need, and you no longer need to be a part of that. So
I
that's
agree.
a really, really big lesson for me, because it was a game changer, and it really helped me take my readings to the next level.
Right. A couple things. One, I agree. First of all, Devin says yes. Michael does that. Stern
Yeah.
Swift, very much so. But that's the thing. The one thing that I wanted to say was that yes, we love you dearly, and we're glad that we give you readings. We're glad we helped you today. Because I'm the radio giving the message to you. But remember, that message has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with my life. It has nothing to do with anything other than the fact I'm here today giving it. I mean, I'm very sorry for everything that happens to people, but that message is not meant for me. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't, once in a while you get those ones that are meant for you too. But most of the time that message isn't meant for you.
Right.
And people, that's where they take it home. Well, if this person's feeling really bad, well, we gave them the message to help them get out of it. Now they need to do it.
Right. And what they do with it is up to them. And that was, again, that was a game changer for me. I kind of say, like, Archangel Michael's that, he keeps me driven, but he is very protective and really, helps that way. And then Jesus is another one of my guides, and I call him my compassion coach, because I often I would like to just punch people sometimes. So he's always like, Stacie, I'm like, I'm trying, so I always say, Jesus is my compassion coach. Michael, keeps me in line and keeps me moving forward, and, sticks his foot up my arse when I need it. But yeah, they all serve their purposes. That's for sure.
It's funny because Devin is one of my students, and she runs our Psychics Unite in Columbus, Ohio. And then Jen, who's in the room, she runs our Psychics Unite in Southern Indiana group. But they both were students too. And my spirit guy, Steve, helps everybody. Once you become a student, my spirit guy goes there, and he goes, one time he was talking to Devin, and he goes to her, you haven't talked to Scotty in a while. he's like, oh, shame on you. I say that story, and her spirit guy's name is Daniel. And Daniel looks at Jen or at Devin and says, don't do that.
Right.
And then Jen says, because Jen's spirit guide is Chief, and he's like almost daring you not to do that. It's true. our guides are there to help, not to get to us. But I had to get to a point where I finally had to get the realization and understanding. And once I did, and then I've never questioned since.
Right. And
You
that's
know,
where you get. And
right.
sometimes people will say in a reading, they're like, well, that's not true. And my team's like, yes, it is. And I'm like, okay. And then later on, I'll get an email or someone will come back and say, oh, yeah, that was right. I'm like, I know. It's okay. You'll get it.
I get that a lot.
Say,
How come you're always right? Well,
right.
because I
I
listen to
often
spirit.
say I trust the dead way more than I trust the living. So, except when they're voting, they
Me
shouldn't
too.
be voting. That's one thing they shouldn't be doing.
I know. I guess there's plenty of them.
I
Whatever. Some people say it. Oh my God, that's too funny. But yes, so very good questions. Thank you guys so
Yeah,
much for
thank you.
making sure there's no more. There's no more in the chat room. Then we're gonna kind of wrap it up here tonight. But thank you so much for coming. But I mean, the best thing is we do this work daily because it's our passion, it's our love, and we really do want to help people. And that's the one thing I want to tell everybody who watches is that's the type of reader, sitter, whatever, that type of stuff. That's what we want you to have. If people are telling you you have to smudge for $3,000 to get rid of a demon, call me because I'll call that person out. I'll
Right.
call them up myself right away and say, "What the hell are you talking about? It's not real." So that's the thing. So turn to Stacie, turn to myself, or all the other great people that are in the chat room tonight. Um, and also come to our Psychics Unite page and other things, or Stacie's page, and get the help because the real ones do it for real. I mean, yes, we're doing this for a living. This is our income too. So I'm not talking about being paid, but there's a difference. There's a difference in level. There's a difference in quality. There's a difference in somebody that's trying to scam, and don't let the scammers take a hold of you.
Well, and I think you and I have had our fair share of people say, I just felt like I needed to come see you,
Right.
my
Oh yeah.
website, and I just felt guided. And that's I often say that we have a PR firm on the other side of spirit, and they absolutely get, our clients to where they need to be. And, if it's in front of you, it's in front of me, or, other mediums that do this work and do it well, then that's where they're meant to be.
Right.
And it's important that, that people feel good about their experiences and that they're ready. I think that's one of the biggest things too, is that people really need to be ready and open when they come see us. And that's important. It helps the process for everybody when they are. So, and just so my website is milwaukeemedium.com, and you can actually look up services and classes and schedule directly on my website. Everything is right there. Facebook is Stacie Tatera Medium Healer Teacher. So if you want to like my page, you can certainly do that. I post my classes and events and different things that are going on. But it's been an honor. So thanks for having me, and hopefully we can do this again in the future. It's super fun.
Anytime you want to come on, you have an open invite. So
Thank you.
would love to have you here. Yeah, it was kind of funny you said that because just 2 weeks ago, I got a student from Philly. They actually Googled psychic classes and mine came up and they were just drawn, so spirit puts us right in there. So once again, I'm Scotty Rorek, psychic medium. Just look it up. I'm on there. Psychics Unite. We have our meetings every Monday night at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. It's on my page. It's on if you ever just Google Psychics Unite, it'll be there too. We have our new Psychics Unite website coming up. So thanks everybody for helping with that, because we have a store now with merchandise and soon we're going to be putting the school up. So I'll talk to you about that.
Yeah,
It'd
definitely.
be nice to have you as a teacher and join us from that stuff. But thank you guys for coming, watching this week. Thank you for Shadow Hunters for allowing us to be here on this page to do this, and we thank them. And fun, not this weekend, but the following weekend, Shadow Hunters is all coming up to Portage, and we're all doing an investigation together. So excited, can't wait for that. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next week. And like as always, thank you very much. Have a good week.
Bye. Thank you.